Hello, it's time for an AJP PR7 update. I've just been shooting a bit of an update for my Shooting Wide newsletter and things. I've got all the lights out and everything. I thought I'd take a moment to have a little recap on where we're at with the AJP PR7. So it's been a little while since I last did an update, maybe a couple of months or something like that. Anyway, from before Christmas. Obviously we've gone into Christmas. It's a bit cold, icy, snowy, not so much riding going on, but the biggest issue being that we're now, in the UK at least, in another lockdown. So I hope that you are well and safe wherever you are in the world, and I hope that you're getting to do a bit more riding than I've been doing. So this film's probably going to be a little bit short, but I have made some updates to the bike since the last time I made a video. So here we go. So I guess before I start, I think something that I kind of want to point out with my bike is that I've been pretty kind of focused on only adding and updating parts of this bike that I feel is really necessary, as in is not right out of the factory or not quite to my liking out of the factory. I think the whole beauty of the PR7 is that it has a lot of those added extras as standard. And so I've been really keen to kind of try and leave it as close to standard as possible. Apart from the graphics, of course, which is one of the big things I changed. So that's kind of why I haven't done the upgrade kit for the power upgrade. So it's still got the stock exhaust and the stock ECU. So for me, with my kind of riding, I really don't feel like the bike needs any more power. With more power, you need more control. And for me, the slow speed control is more important than the top end speed, adding more top end speed. So that is all as standard. One of the things that I noticed, another kind of owners notice, is the fuel cap on the standard bike is a little bit sticky. And as the temperatures dropped, that started becoming more sticky. It's not a big deal, it's just a bit frustrating when you're at the fuel station and you're trying to open it and it's a bit fiddly. So I opted to change the fuel cap. Having a lockable fuel cap is not a big deal for me. I'm not really riding in areas where I feel like someone's going to put something in my fuel or steal fuel. So really just something similar to my KTM EXC, which is just a screw fuel cap, would be absolutely fine. So there's not many options for this bike, but there are two available. One of them is essentially a Cerbis large cap, and the manufacturer has created a threaded insert for that. I don't know if that's the right word, but anyway, it sits proud of the tank and it just bolts on, and that's a great option. One of the reasons why I didn't go down that option is because it sits quite high up, and I have been using, which I'll explain in a minute, a tank bag, so I wanted something more flush. And I'm in a WhatsApp group with other PR7 owners, and someone sent over a link to an American site called Zip Tie, and they kind of make bespoke racing products, and they had a screw down fuel filter. It's like anodized red, looks really shiny, so I went and bought that. A few things to say about that. It has solved the problem of sticky fuel cap, but it's not been without its own issues. It's a neat looking product. You just you take the OEM one out and you replace it, and this just screws in and screws out, no key, absolutely fine. The issues are, firstly, it's expensive. I'm in the UK and I'm buying it from America, and not only was it kind of expensive, it was borderline, okay, I can justify that. I think it ended up being about £70, which is expensive for fuel cap. But then by the time it arrived, I got stuck with import costs. It wasn't necessarily duty, but it was like handling fees. And that kind of put the price, another 20 quid or 25 quid on top. So you're kind of knocking on 100 quid for a fuel cap, which, to be honest, is too expensive. But I've done it, it's there, it has solved the problem. One of the issues with it, it's not a breathable fuel cap. Now, I don't know how much of a problem that is going to be, but there is no breather hose attached to it. So in theory, the tank could create a vacuum. Also, and this is the thing that gets me, is that it looks really well engineered. It is really well engineered. It's not going to break, but it's got this recess in it, and basically it captures water. So if it's raining, you've basically got a little fish tank in front of you, and it's not going to drain away. So that's not really that well thought out. Fortunately for me, it's not such an issue because it's living underneath my tank bag. It does sit proud, but not by very much. It's like maybe 10-15 mil up. So yeah, that works okay. So anyway, one problem solved, another minor problem created. Such is life. Okay, so I mentioned the tank bag. So I use the Giant Loop Diablo Pro tank bag. I've used that for many years on my KTM 450. I didn't put it on the PR7 to start off with because I kind of, as a designer, photographer, I like the clean look of the bike without it, and I kind of kept more my camera gear in my rucksack. But the more that I was out riding and taking photos, the more I realized that having my camera gear in front of me in a tank bag was just really, really handy. So I put that back on the bike. It's a bit fiddly to mount because the frame of the PR7 is kind of so unusual. It's not like a trellis frame, but you can do it. It kind of just goes, well, it's easier to show you than tell you, but it mounts okay. It doesn't quite, the tank on the PR7 is really narrow, so it doesn't quite sit as well as it does on my EXC, but it does sit there. It's got a neat feature where the bag actually zips away from the base, so and the base is cut away for a fuel cap, and it fits kind of perfectly on the PR7, so you can open it up and refuel really, really easily. So that's a big win. I'm happy that that fits. So I had a comment on Instagram, I think it was Instagram or Facebook or something. Someone was asking about the red bag that I've got stashed away in behind the fairing of the PR7. And so as I explained, so to that guy, basically I really value that space in between the speedo and the fairing. I think it's an underused space, and I'm always looking to see how can I kind of store stuff neatly on the bike without having to add more kind of bulky luggage. And I kind of really felt that was an underused space. Originally I wanted to get my camera gear in there, but it just wasn't going to work. So I use Adventure Spec gear. I work with Adventure Spec, and one of the big kind of philosophies behind the way that we produce our gear is this layering system. So you don't have everything you wear in one jacket. You separate it all out and you wear layers, so you're only wearing what you need for the environment you're riding through. So if it's not raining, there's no point in having a waterproof layer on. If it is raining, you put your waterproof layer on over the top. If it's hot, then you take your mid layer off. If it's cold, you put a mid layer on, which is fantastic. It makes for really, really comfortable riding. But what it does mean is you need somewhere to store all these layers that you're not using. So I use a dry bag stuffed down in that space at the front, and it's tied off to the Thork Racing clamp for my Garmin Montana unit. Anyway, I use a dry bag in there, and that is where my waterproof trousers live permanently, and on the other side where my waterproof jacket lives. So they basically live on my jacket with me, on my bike all of the time, and I can just take them out as and when I need them. The bag that I use is an Alpkit 13 litre tapered bag. Alpkit is a UK outdoor manufacturer, and they have this bag which is actually designed for a bike packing tail pack, but it basically it's wide at one end and tapers down to narrow at the other end, and I find that it fits really, really well in that space. So I've actually only got one. I'm waiting. They've been out of stock for a while, so I need to get the other one for the other side. But that's yeah, it's a really neat solution. You know, it fits really well in that space. So that's what the red bags are. Okay, so another quite. Sharp, I see. Fuck off. So another couple of questions that I've had are about my mirrors. So I use the double take mirrors with my PR7. So they are the Enduro style. I think you can get adventure ones and Enduro ones. The adventure ones give you a little bit more view, and the Enduro ones are designed to be a little bit smaller. They're unbreakable, you can bend them down. They're much better than the OEM ones. So the way that you mount those is you have the actual mirror and then a ram arm. I choose the smallest ram arm that you can get, and then that's attached to a ram ball with a threaded bar on the bottom, and that just threads straight into the where the OEM mirrors go in, and that's all you need. Some bikes need a reverse thread adapter. The PR7 doesn't, my PR7 doesn't. Just the standard ram balls go straight into there. I'll put some links in the description of the video, and that'll take you to the Adventure Spec website where you can buy those. So that's not a huge amount of mods. The last exciting mod that I've made to the bike is via a friend of mine, Will. So I use the Garmin Montana unit on the bike. It's the Garmin Montana 700i, but this would kind of also apply to the 600i, which I had before. But essentially, there's a Garmin make a cradle that this GPS sits into, and it's solid, it's absolutely bomb-proof, it's really, really good. But I find there are times when I don't really need the Garmin unit, and actually sometimes I would just like to have my phone there. Now I know what you're going to say. If I had the Carpe Eater tablet, I wouldn't need my phone in there, and yes, you're right, but I don't. I've chosen this route. So sometimes I would just like Google Maps in front of me on my phone if I don't need to be going off-road and I don't have my Garmin Montana with me. And up to this point, I use my phone with a quad lock mount, and then that attaches to my handlebars via a RAM system. But I've always kind of wanted it kind of right up there so I can see it. So I worked with my friend Will, who's recently bought a 3D printer. He's an IT, I don't know if it's like, is it an insult to call someone an IT expert? Anyway, he does security software stuff, sort of super secret, but he's really into his 3D printing. So I worked with him because he's also got the Garmin Montana 700, and we basically came up, or he came up, well, we came up with this 3D printed mount, which essentially is designed to receive whatever you want on here, but then this is essentially the shape of the back of the Montana. So basically it clips in to the Montana mount, and then you can put what you want. Now, this was an early version. This is actually the version that I've been using. Let's see if you can see it. So this is the base unit, the quad lock system, and it's also got the anti-vibration system from quad lock inside it as well. And this allows me to mount it into my Montana unit, Montana cradle, and then put my phone in there. And yeah, I'm pretty chuffed for that because I've wanted one of these for ages, and finally Will has given me the solution. So thank you, Will. I've been trying to tell Will that other people might want one of these. If you want one, get in touch, leave a message. If there's enough people, maybe we'll find a way to produce them. I think there's probably a lot more people out there with the Montana 600 units than the 700, but anyway, let me know. Other than that, I've not done a huge amount of mileage on the bike. It's kind of been sitting there in a state of lockdown winter, but the miles that I have done, I've really enjoyed. And if you've been following me on Instagram, you'll have seen some of the stuff that I've posted. And if you subscribe to this channel, you'll see some of the shoot and ride newsletters that I've been going out through video. The 2021 bike is on its way. I think it's been delayed by kind of COVID kind of supply chain issues, but I'm pretty sure it's on its way now. I'm in touch with the factory and talking to them about it. I think one of the big upgrades on the new bike, so there's new suspension and a few little tweaks, but the big upgrade is the ECU. It's got an Athena ECU, which I think, well, the interesting thing is with this bike is that every iteration they have improved some of the niggles from the previous iteration. So the new one, by all accounts, is much easier to start in cold and has better fueling. I'm talking to the guys at the factory about maybe kind of getting my hands on one of those units. If I can, I'll install it and I'll let you know what the difference is between the 2020 and the 2021. Anyway. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe. If you really like what you see, dig a bit deeper and you'll find Shoot and Ride, which is my little side project about people that really enjoy riding with a camera. Plenty more for you there. See you soon.